Welcome to Timber, Oregon, one of our rural communities. I hope you'll enjoy this visit today between Portland and Tillamook on my Oregon video map number 2, part 2. Davies consists of a second-hand shop and a wrecking yard by the junction of where Highway 8 runs into Highway 6. Then in another 4 miles up this country road is the gas and food stop of Manning. Since Highway 8 is the main route between Portland and Tillamook, there's plenty of truckers and tourists to keep a few businesses operating along the way. Since it rains a lot here, this is a pretty area with several small streams. Washburn was just past Banks and Davies. Next we'll visit Glenwood and its trolley park. Then Timber and Cochran. This Glenwood is only about 30 miles west of Portland. There's another larger Glenwood, Oregon between Eugene and Springfield. The post office must have had to reroute a lot of mail before we got zip codes. I've noticed that we have doubles of other towns in our state too. The Oregon Electric Railway has set up a museum of old electric trolleys here. Dick Shipley, the treasurer, can tell us a little about this place.
The museum's main purpose is to preserve some of the trolleys from northwestern Oregon and from wherever else in the world we happen to have collected them, and to make them available for public display. And of course, the best form of public display is to ride on them. The ones that you see in the foreground behind me, the one directly in the first bay is an open car from Sydney, Australia. It was built in 1912. That's our principal operating car during the summer. One reason, because it's so easy to get into and out of. It's an 8-door car, 8 doors on each side. Next to it, that double-decker came from Blackpool, England. And that car was built originally in 1902, and I understand the upper deck was added around 1911. That's another favorite car with the visitors here. The kids especially love to ride the upper deck. We have 3 Portland cars on the property. None of them are visible at the moment because one of them is in the barn around the corner that you can't see, and the other 2 are in back of some of the present cars. There is also a British Columbia heavy interurban car. That was a car that made a 75-mile run up from Vancouver to Chilliwack up the Fraser River Canyon. It's an 85-mile-an-hour car. We don't run it that fast out here, of course, but it's capable of it. Up the hill at the shop, we have 2 operating freight motors, electric railway freight locomotives. One of them's a 40-ton, one's a 25-ton. We run those around here occasionally and use them as work platforms for maintenance on the line. We do have a very nice picnic area, and a lot of people come and just spend the day out here. I might say especially people with video cameras. We're open Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays, May through October, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. We're open during the week for special charter events, large groups, such as we have coming out today whenever the buses get here.
I don't want to operate with anything else.
Welcome aboard. These are operated with electric motors. The motors run on 600 volts, but it's not possible to start it on 600 volts while it's standing still. It would burn up. So there's a bunch of resistors underneath. You can see them out there. They're in banks underneath. And this shunts part of the power into there, and it'll start out with 10% of the power going to the motor, 90% going to those resistors. Then he'll go to the next stop on here, and he's got about 10 places he can go here. As he's going to gain speed, he will cut down, like he'll drop down to 30% of the power going to those resistors, 30% going to the motors, 70% going to the resistors, and he just keeps working his way around until he gets him here to overdrive, and that is when he's got the full power going to the two 600 horse motors, one in each end for driving them. Of course, only one motor drives at a time, and that's how the train operates. Then, of course, they back off from this, and then they can run, when they go to brake and stop, it's reversing the power. The power goes backwards through the motor and tries to turn the wheels backwards. And that's how the car comes to a stop. Starts off with 90% here, 10% there, and then eventually the whole 100% goes to that motor. But there's those. And this is the same principle used in mills to operate DC motors in mills. This is a late model, fairly late model, built in 1938 car. It has the magnetic brakes on it. Between the two wheels, this part here that goes right down to the track. Crossbar there, that is electrified. When he turns the brake, it puts juice through there, and that thing tries to hang on and magnetize onto the track. And that's how it stops, is by magnetic brake, by that thing, that magnet trying to hang on to the rail.
Oh, I see how it works.
About 4 miles north of Glenwood is the old logging town of Timber, which still has an operating post office. Even though the businesses are all shut down, there's probably still a few dozen people who live here. Doesn't this just kind of look like the kind of place where nothing ever happens? Then after about 8 more miles to the west, and some wonderful scenery, we'll arrive at Cochran, only to discover that there isn't even one building left where a town once stood. This is a nice forested area, though, where lots of ferns grow, and there's an abundance of small rippling brooks, just perfect for camping and roughing it. By the way, I always take 3 times as much footage as I need, so if anyone needs to see more of any of these places, just let me know. I've got lots more videotape. It's fortunate that God made these trees so that they grow back again. Even if they burn or are clear-cut, they still grow back in a short time and are ready for us to use again for more fuel or lumber or whatever we need. There's quite a beehive of activity where the town of Cochran once stood. There's a gravel crusher that's crushing rocks and hauling them over the mountains to the west, and a contractor from Hillsboro has got the road along the tracks blocked off while they're busy digging up the mountainside. An old map that I have not only shows Timber and Cochran, but in the 15 miles before Salmonberry there were 5 more small towns. We won't be able to see them, but we will be able to see what's left from Salmonberry and west a little later on this journey. Probably a train ride might be the easiest way to explore this area. We did ride the Spirit of Oregon dinner train from Roy, which is by Banks, Oregon. But its normal trip only goes as far as Cochran and back. I must admit that it was fun, and that the food was superb. It certainly is worth the trip up here, even if just to ride the train and nothing else. It starts at Roy and goes through Banks and Timber to Cochran and back again.
We'll be going over a tunnel that's about a little over a quarter of a mile. So it takes us about 3 minutes to get through. And it was built in 1902, but it's been reinforced. Let's see here. about an hour, you'll see a very nice log cabin with a red metal roof on it next door with an orchard and a land strip. That's Ramblin' Rod's home. I remember sitting in Ramblin' Rod's lap.
That's right.
So somewhere between Beaverton, Toyota, and those buttons, he got paid extremely well. Anyway, please kick back and relax. Enjoy your hors d'oeuvres. If you're wondering what the stuff in the middle is, it's smoked salmon pate. If you want to know what the speckled cheese is, it's jalapeno cheese. So it's got a little bit of a zip to it, but it's not too bad. And throughout the whole dining experience, if you have any questions about it, we'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
The dinner train starts a couple miles south of the Highway 6 and 26 junction and goes to Cochran. Next we're going to the Blodgett Arboretum by Glenwood, then Gales Creek Park and a waterfall, Lee's Camp and a couple more forest parks, Trask and Tillamook. The Blodgett Arboretum is owned by Pacific University in Forest Grove, about 15 miles southeast of here. Good old PU. Gales Creek Forest Park is next, a natural forest setting. Then you come to a nice little waterfall near the highway. East Wilson River Forest Park is like the other forest parks on this road, just roads through the trees. Then Lee's Camp and Jones Creek Forest Camp. Notice these trees that are planted on the right up ahead. They were planted in 1956 according to the sign. They're just about ready to harvest and replant again. If our government gets a hold of our natural resources through the environmentalists and other groups who are being used by our secret leaders, there won't be much work left. This is Keeing Forest Park. It's nice that there are lots of recreational areas set aside just to enjoy also. The 10-mile drive up Trask River Road reveals some good fishing holes for all you fishermen who are looking for a new spot to try. One good thing about all our rainfall here is that it makes many rivers and streams that our Heavenly Father put here just for us to enjoy. Isn't this a beautiful place? Trask Park is about a mile or so before you get to the Trask store. The fishing hole was about halfway in between. This seems to be a fairly popular place for campers, picnickers, and swimmers. We'll take a look at the swimming hole after we look at the Trask store. Since this is such a nice place, it attracts enough people to keep the small store going. And in the yard across the road from the store, there are some windmills and pretty flowers. Shows that someone around here likes to spend some time outdoors fixing up their yard. From here you can take the curvy road on east over the mountains to Yam Hill, that is if you don't mind dirt roads. Back at the Trask Park swimming hole, this tree growing from some dirt on top of an old bridge pillar is eventually going to run out of soil. But in any event, wouldn't you say this looks like an inviting place in which to spend a summer day? right near where Trask Road turns off from Highway 6, and at the intersection of Coast Highway 101 is the city of Tillamook. This is a large old town, population 4,000. Shopping center for several small towns, since there isn't another city of any size for about 40 miles in any direction. The Pioneer Museum downtown has the best wildlife exhibits in the state. This city was once a center for loggers, fishermen, and dairymen. Anymore there aren't many loggers left, but probably the best dairy farms in the state are on the coast near here. Just a perfect location for the Tillamook cheese plant. You'll find rich, green fields and milk cows for miles, all up and down the coastal valleys. After Trask, we went to Tillamook. Next we'll head north to Bay City, Garibaldi, Barview, Rockaway Beach, Twin Rocks, Rockaway, Lake Lytle, Manhatten Beach, Nehalem Jetty, Brighton, Wheeler, Mohler, Nehalem, and Nehalem Bay Park. Bay City, population 1,000, sits back from the highway a bit. 5 rivers end here, making this Oregon's second largest bay. The G you see on the mountain up ahead stands for Garibaldi, another town with a population of 1,000. A place of interest here that's worth checking out is the marina and the old train station at Lumberman's Park.
They're really putting it down. Uh-oh, the goal's gonna get one. Ah, he did.
They made a P line for me. You can see him come right over there, coming right across them track, just heading for me.
This is the last look at the bay north of Garibaldi. You can ride that old train from Garibaldi 12 miles north to Wheeler, any Saturday or Sunday from the end of May to the end of October. The sign at Barview says Jetty County Park, but according to the map, this is the lower end of Rockaway Beach Park, which runs a couple miles north to the town of Rockaway Beach.
Twin Rocks.
I don't see the Twin Rocks, but they're probably around. Maybe somebody knocked it down too.
Probably up on the side of the hill somewhere.
Oh, they got a go-kart track.
Chowder. Entering Rockaway Beach, population 1,000.
Okay.
The Green River Ordinance is enforced here. You know what the Green River Ordinance is?
That means you aren't supposed to peddle stuff, right?
Yes, sir. I think one thing that would impress you about the coast around here is how many motels there are. Every few feet's another motel.
Well, this is the downtown. Trash and treasures.
Now this Rockaway Beach, we can take a look at the beach, you know.
Oh,
Crashing
beach,
waves.
Okay.
The waves crashing on the rocks. That's why they call it
Is this
rock.
the way to the beach right here?
Just north of Rockaway Beach, the road goes alongside of Lytle Lake. Then the next town is Manhatten Beach. We'll look at its park and houses before the Nehalem Jetty, and then on to Brighton and Wheeler.
Population 350, Wheeler, Oregon.
Okay.
We need to put the steering wheel over there.
You know how backseat drivers are. They don't do as good at driving, especially when they're looking through a viewfinder.
See, it's not a normal mountain, those
Might
are.
be volcanic.
I don't know. I don't think so. See, they're not cut right up there. They're very high and they're not cut right like normal mountains are.
Uh-huh.
Entering Nehalem.
Welcome to our city, Nehalem. Well, it says this is 101 going that way.
Aha, cherry blossoms. Pink cherry blossoms. In the dead of winter. Quarter mile, camping, picnicking.
Well, I might as well get a shot of that too.
The
while we're-
bunkhouse, RV park, restaurant, Pepsi Cola. 1.5 miles away, it says.
Well, that's not far.
Gosh, you're
No
generous.
problem.
Nehalem Bay Park is on a long sandbar that reaches about 2 miles to the south, a good place for picnicking. Next we'll see Manzanita and Neakahnie, then past Neakahnie Mountain to Oswald West State Park. Next, Arch Cape, Hug Point, Arcadia Beach, Tolavana Park, Tolavana Beach, and Cannon Beach.
I got a pizza.
Pizzeria, U.S. Postie Office.
It's necessary to drive through Manzanita in order to get to Nehalem Bay State Park, which is off to the left. Then Neakahnie is a mile to the north, another small village on a beautiful beach.
Oh yeah, this is Neakahnie Mountain here too, by the way.
The ocean. Look at the ocean, how big it is.
Oswald West State Park is a primitive camping and rest area in a real rainforest with picnic tables and a creek that you can fish in or splash around in, whichever you like.
Deli, Arch Cape Inn,
Hug Point is just one of the many beautiful beaches on Oregon's north coast, and it's just down the hill from a roadside rest area. Doesn't this just make you want to hop in the car and head over here? I hope you've enjoyed this tour through Northwest Oregon, and hope you'll come back again next month and we'll see a little bit more. We're on every week now, so next week let's go on up the coast to Ecola Park, then explore the Salmonberry area. Next, take a look inside Tillamook's cheese plant, the Cape Mears Lighthouse, Sand Lake, and then see more of the coast on south to Pacific City.